Here is the stand, pretty much complete. There's a few pieces I'm going to be adding underneath here, but aside from that, it's pretty much complete. I am just building these braces now, as you can see. I decided to do these 2x4 braces, one behind the tank and most likely on each end of the tank on the sides. I will most likely do the same thing, just to add a little more rigidity and structure, since the tank is going to be so tall at 36 inches tall. So let's go ahead and place these onto the stand. I'm going to use these screws, which are 2.5-inch construction screws. I'm going to be putting a bunch of those into the back first step. Let's go ahead and do that. All right, so next what I'm going to do, I just decided that I'm going to actually build the tank on top of the stand as it sits, just because I've got so much work going on down here with finishing off the rest of the basement. I really don't have a whole lot of room to build an 8-foot by 4-foot tank. So what I ended up doing, I put the bottom of the tank, plywood, is laying on top of the plywood that's on top of the stand. So I'm going to start building the tank right now on top of the stand as it sits. So I'll go ahead, get this framework that's going to support the back. I believe I'm going to just screw it right into the bottom piece of plywood here. All right, so here is the back wall laying down. This is going to be the top. That's the bottom, of course. What I'm going to do when I'm done is I'm going to flip it up against the back. But I just cut this piece. It's 8 feet long, and stock was 48 inches wide, of course, 4 feet. And what I've done here now is I have taken my saw, and I have the circular saw, and I have cut it down, trimmed it down to 36 inches tall. So what I want to make sure I want to do is this build, I am probably going to be over OCD, which is fine. I just want to make sure it's all built perfectly, correctly, whatever the word is. Just want to make sure it's as good as it can get. So what I'm going to do now is, just to make sure, I did a really clean, fine cut, and I went slow, took my time. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a router with an edging bit on it. So what this is going to do is going to give me a perfect flat edge. So everything is completely flat, matches up, 90 degrees, everything. It'll be a nice, smooth, clean edge. And another big thing, which I believe I'm going to use the actual cuts that were made when this board was made. I'm going to use that on the bottom, because I would rather have it absolutely perfect and square on the bottom where it matters more, compared to on the top where the water is actually not going to be hitting it. The water will actually probably be a good 2 inches or so below the top of this board. So the perfect side that's cut from the factory is going to be on the bottom. Top that I'm cutting, or I should say the part that I'm cutting, is the top. But I'm going to go ahead and route now to make sure it's perfectly squared, or as close to possible perfection as I can get it, so everything lines up perfectly and seals up real nice. So let's go ahead and do that. Once I'm done, I'm going to get the side panels done same way, basically. Make a cutout for the left side, and the right side will be just plain stock. So let's go ahead and get that done now. All right, so that part with the router is done. I just wanted to show you how it came out. This is actually the side that I cut. I cut the entire 8-foot length here by hand with just the circular saw. So I went over it with this router and the straight edge drill bit just to edge it. And you could see how perfect the whole entire edge came out. Absolutely perfect, just like the factory cut. Really nice. It's perfect. Probably as straight as I can possibly ever get it. So I'm happy I took the extra, I don't know, 3 or 4 minutes to go ahead and do that and route the edge. So I'm going to go ahead and do that on the side panels, get the side panels cut, go ahead and square it up and make it as good as I can get. And we'll move on to the next part. All right, so we are going to start the gluing and screwing process. This is what I am going to use, Tight Bond 3 Ultimate Wood Glue. It is waterproof, this one. There are a handful of different variations of this. This glue I have been using for years on wood projects, and it is just absolutely insane how strong it is. So I trust this glue. We're going to go ahead and use this. I bought a bunch of bottles since I figure we're going to probably use a ton of it. Let's get going on the gluing. All right, so not really rocket science here. We're going to go ahead and start the gluing process. I've got this piece of plywood that is going to actually be the bottom of the tank, like I said before. I have it slid off the back of the stand a little bit so I can go ahead and glue this. I'm going to raise this panel up, place it in place here, and then clamp it down with the glue. And I'm going to put a whole bunch of screws going through the bottom. I'll show that next, going up into the vertical studs, the 2x4s. Anyways, while I'm chatting away here, I'll give this a really good thick coat of glue. Again, this glue is literally strong as nails. It's pretty impressive, I will say. I've been using it for a long time. It never fails, except for when it does fail, which luckily hasn't been yet. But as you see, I'm just doing a nice thick bead of glue. I'm not going to bother. Sometimes I either use my finger or a paintbrush of some sort and smooth it out, but I don't think that's really necessary here. So we're going to go ahead and raise this panel, clamp it into place, and then we're going to have a whole freaking mess of glue everywhere. So let's go ahead and do that. Exciting stuff. All right, so we're moving right along. I got the back vertical, and the sides are in place as we speak. The right side is going to be in the wall, of course. The left side, I've got the rough cut out right now. I'll go back and square it up and straighten it out afterwards. But here's what we're looking at. Again, this tank 8 feet by 4 feet wide and 36 inches tall. This window, have to measure it actually. I don't know what it actually is. Actually, yes, I do. It's about 4 inches on each side here. So about 40 inches this window is. And I think it's 32 inches tall. Anyways, we've got the back brace here. What I did was I put a whole bunch of wood glue in here, and I've got the vices in place holding it together. Also, I went ahead and put a bunch of these screws every, I'd say, 1.5 inches or so, maybe 2 inches at most, but probably 1.5 inches, 1.75 inches spaced out up and down. That is on both sides. Take you over here. I've got the tank, of course, pushed out a little bit just so I could get to the back of this. Put the screws in, clamp it down, let it dry. I'm gonna let it dry and cure overnight. And then what I plan to do is I'll push it back up against the vertical support here, the 2x4s in the back you see. I'll go ahead, tie it all in, I'll glue it and screw it to the back of the tank. The plan is tomorrow, once this is all cured, I'll take all the vices off, etc. I've got, as you can see, it's pretty cool. I love these things. These are 90-degree clamps. I keep calling them vices, they're clamps. So that's pretty cool to have. I do this on a lot of my builds, my stands and everything else. Just so I get a really nice, perfect 90 degrees. And of course I square it up with the T-squares and everything else, but we'll let this dry overnight. Plan for tomorrow, cut out the front section, and then I will get the fiberglass cloth, sand it, cloth all the seams, the corners, and then we'll go ahead and measure up for the glass. I will have to get the glass actually made. I went and scoped it all out. I'm all set. Just need to place the order for it as soon as I have the exact measurements. I'm just waiting on that. Once we get the glass in place, then I will go ahead and make a one-piece top out of the same plywood. I'll take this sheet of plywood and I'll make the perimeter. It's a lot of waste, but I do like the fact of having one piece instead of multiple pieces. And I'll put to use the center pieces that I do cut out for other projects, so that's fine. The plan is when I do push this back, the top brace is going to tie it all in by coming all the way to the back here. We'll put a bunch of screws into the top of the 2x4s, and then screws through the top of the top down into the vertical pieces here. So it should be really really strong setup. And I am going to use I think it's about 1.5 inches hardwood to pretty much go like this, place like this all around the corners everywhere. I think that's my plan of action. I'm going to figure that out tonight. But now that it's actually rolling, we're moving right along, and I can't wait to get this project completed. I'm going to go ahead and order the pond armor, pond shield stuff in black. So I'll be doing this tank all in black. I'm not sure what I'm going to do, actually. You know what? I'll save that for another video. I'm probably going to end up making one of my 3D backgrounds, which I will show. Actually, I might as well show it right now. It's in the storage room over here for now. If you guys who are familiar with my channel, remember this tank up here. It's a 40-gallon breeder, but I may very well do that same or similar 3D background on the entire 8-foot stretch here. I think that would be pretty spectacular, but not sure yet. So we'll see, most likely, but we'll see. That'll be a whole another project in itself, of course. But appreciate you guys watching. I'm gonna let this dry overnight. I'll get back to work in the morning and I'll post another video ASAP. Talk to you guys later.